ask me for a number, I will say that over 90% of the people don't like their jobs, but they must go every day. How do I know? Give me a break. I'm an executive coach. I work with companies. I coach teams. I train managers and leaders from very big organizations. And you see, those organizations you think, okay, they are paid for salary, therefore they are happy. That's even where I see a lot of unhappiness. I remember on one occasion, I had a training program for top general managers and senior managers in a particular bank. Top people, they came there with their drivers and SUVs, the big people. And when I shared my story about leaving Shell to do what I am doing now, they were intrigued. And one of the general managers there couldn't hold it. Big bank, one of the biggest banks, the top 5 banks. He approached me quietly during tea, a coffee break, and said, please, how did you do this? How did you find the courage to leave Shell? This guy said he hates that job, but he has to be there because there's nothing else. And his children are still in school, in secondary school and university, so he couldn't leave. And it's the same story I find over and over again. People hate the jobs that they do, but they must continue to work every single day. And spiritually speaking, that is not how man was designed to live. This is actually slavery. So what we're talking about today is you can invest your way out of salary slavery and daily struggle. And I will share my own true experiences. There is proof that you can, and indeed you should, invest your way out of salary slavery and daily struggle. Most people hate their jobs, but they have to wake up every morning to go there. And then the saddest thing is that many people they work for 20, 30 years, 40 years, and there's nothing to show for it. I'm working with a lot of people in their 50s and some in their 60s. People in their, like, close to 60, like myself, and they tell me, I've worked for this number of years, but when I look back, there's nothing to show for it. And then if you're listening to me and you are in that kind of situation, just type in the comment section that that's me. You've worked 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, and you look back, there's actually nothing to show for it. And then all you've worked for, you used to pay bills. You used to pay bills, and right now you still pay bills. And then even as they increase your salary, so do the bills also increase. And worse still, in some of the emerging countries, some of you from the different countries, from the emerging economies watching me, you're suffering hyperinflation. Hyperinflation. So what your salary could have accomplished 10 years ago, what your salary could easily accomplish 10 years ago, today you need 20 times the same amount of money because of how inflation and everything has gone up. When I went to school, secondary school fees were like 10 naira in secondary school. And then the university, school fees were maybe like 20, 30 naira. That was 1979 to 1984 when I did my secondary school. School fees were like 10 naira, 5 naira or something ridiculous like that. And in the university, I'm not sure it was up to 15 naira. If you went to the university in the late 70s, early 80s, you can tell me that. And as a matter of fact, if you wanted to buy a car, I still remember in 1978, 1979, Peugeot, which was the most common car, the most common model in Nigeria in the 70s, it was Peugeot. I didn't know what happened to Peugeot. They just disappeared. So if you had 450 naira, you could buy a Peugeot, a brand new Peugeot. There were no fairly used cars in those days. In 1970s, there was nothing like used cars. I don't even know when we started seeing used cars in Nigeria. Maybe from the mid 80s or so. Cars were bought brand new. And I remember when the cost of cars went up, like in the early 80s, you will buy, there was 505 Evolution Peugeot model. At that time, like 5,000 naira. And then the Beetle, the Volkswagen Beetle, was 1,500 naira. But you can't go with 5,000 naira today to try to buy a car. Isn't that ridiculous? If you go with 5,000 naira to buy a car, even a used car, they will call you a psychiatric case because it's not possible. So that is a sad thing about salary. That is a sad thing about depending on paycheck and building your future on paycheck. And you can look at people who have gone ahead of you, who are much older than yourself, people in their 60s, who all their lives, all they knew was paycheck. Look at their lives. See how they ended. So this is a very, very serious topic. And then as we talk, if you have a question or you have a comment, put it in the comment section. It's a live session, and then I'm going to respond to it. I see a comment here. So Oluwatosi Dinyo says, I have worked for 10 years. Soon, in few days, sorry, I've worked for 10 years soon. In few days, I will be in my 40s, yet only my pension is what is available. That's a thing, you know? That is the thing. And lots of people are just waiting for the pension, and then the pension is not pensioning, all right, for lots of people. The pension is not pensioning. The pain of 9 to 5 is real. A young woman sat just across me a couple of days ago, just narrating her ordeal, the ordeal she went through in a very toxic work environment, where she was even the operations manager or something like that, top level. And the way they treated her and treated the employees, and then at the end of it, booted them out. Just, that's it, like that. And some of you, you've had that kind of experience. You've put in all your energy, your skills, your learning in a company, hoping that somehow that this company would take care of you for the rest of your life. But no. They just woke up one day and then with one email ended your appointment with them. And then for so many people, that happened like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and up to today, they still haven't gotten a job, all right? So if you're here and then you're 9 to 5, please answer this question in the comment section. What is your biggest frustration about your job? Everybody? What's for those of you who are in 9 to 5, what are the biggest, or what is one big frustration you have about 9 to 5, about your job? What are your biggest frustrations? Type in the comment section. It's a coaching session, so I would give us a minute to type. And then for those who'll be watching this later, I will read what you put there. What are the biggest frustrations and pain points of the 9 to 5 life with regards to your finances and everything else, your health and all that? Keep it coming. Oh, yeah. Augustine was asking what happened to my finger. Yes, I had a kitchen accident, just a couple of hours ago. So it was really bad because it sliced that little finger. But I'm good. Thank you very much, Augustine, for asking. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate your care. Okay, so let me read a few things about the frustrations that people have with 9 to 5. So Augustine says the pay is not just enough. Very, very true. It's never enough. And then someone had sarcastically said some time ago that how did he put it? He said something about they pay you just enough. The employer pays you just enough to be comfortable enough not to leave, but they don't pay you well enough. So many people who work complain that their salaries are very low, okay? The pay is not good enough. Oluwatosi says, I don't have the control over my time. That is the most surprising. That's the most, in fact, that's what makes it feel like slavery. Because your time is supposed to be your sovereign right. Your time is your sovereign right because your time is your life. But there you are, you don't have control over it. It's another person, another institution, another man who has control over your time, tells you when to come to work, when to go. You can't go if they say you can't go. And then tells you when you're going to go on leave. In the United States, some of you from America watching, you can tell me your vacation in the year, how many, in fact, all of you here, just tell me, how many days or weeks do you get is the statutory vacation in your country? So type your country and then tell me how many days of leave that you are entitled to in the year. I think in the United States, I think it's 2 weeks, okay? In Nigeria, I don't know. I think it is it 28 days or 30 days? So what is it in Ghana? What is it in South Africa? So all of you here, what is it in the Caribbean? All right, so because Tosi says, I don't have the control over my time, okay? And then D-Lane says, no time for an extra job, of course, because they want to use you as much as they possibly can and make, and literally suck the energy and the vitality, if possible, your destiny from you, okay, to make money for the company. Okay, Emmanuel also says, the money is not enough, but a lot of time is taken. Yeah, our take-home pay cannot take us home. Yeah, that's classic. All right. Yeah. Tosi says, as a civil servant, I can imagine. Would you rather fight one horse-sized chicken or 50 chicken-sized horses? Okay, I'm not sure what that riddle is coming to. Okay, so I also see delay in salary. So even though the salary is low, sometimes it's also delayed, okay? And then David Crowther says low wages dead in jobs, okay? Low wages, really bad. Emmanuel says, my biggest frustration is that 9 to 5 salary even finishes before the middle of the new month. That's a common experience. So it's not even that the money takes you, and then sometimes you actually have to borrow money to go through the rest of the month. So then what's the point that you're working? The money can't carry you. But you see the frustration, you can't stay, and at the same time, you can't leave. That's why I call it salary slavery. And then the other big problem with salary is that it becomes addictive. It becomes addictive. Salary is cocaine. Yeah, you can type that. I think it's a quotable quote, you know. Salary is cocaine, just said Obo, Awoke Obo. That's it. You know, it's a quotable. It's something you can tweet. Salary is cocaine. Because once you are hooked on it, for many of you, you know what I'm saying, because some of you have wanted to quit that your work and start a business or something. For the past 5, 10 years, you've been saying, I would leave, I will leave, especially those of you who are civil servants. And then 20 years later, you are still there. So at the end of it, after reading all the things you guys wrote here, I'm going to now offer you how you are going to invest your way out of that situation. Rose says, my fear of going broke. Yes, that my biggest frustration is not having passive income. Okay? All right, okay. Monkey Jim 999 says, okay, that leave days in the UK are 20 to 25 days. All right, so 4 weeks in the UK. Okay, I'm seeing different numbers in the UK. Azode says it's 32 days in the UK. All right, Destiny for Greatness, Jamaica says it's 2 to 3 weeks. Wow. Grace in Italy says it's 4 weeks in a year. Wow. Okay, 32 days is good. Zambia. So Dominic from Zambia says that institutions give 30 days leave. Yeah. So can you imagine? You don't even have control over your time. And then some of you work in certain environments that even when you're on leave, they will still be sending you emails. Have you noticed that? Or even if when they don't send you emails, when you come back, work had piled up. So what was the point of leave? You still have to clear the backlog of things that waited when you went on leave, okay? So, yes, dealing, that's correct. Salary is an addiction. It's addictive, it's cocaine. It's cocaine. I had to cure myself from that cocaine before I was able to leave Shell. There's so many of you. You just can't leave because the question is, it's so terrifying. Come to think about it, because like, if I leave, what's going to happen just in the next 1 week when the salary stops coming? That's exactly the same thing that addiction does to people. The withdrawal is too painful. The withdrawal is so intense that people will rather continue taking the drugs than to go through the withdrawal. And it's exactly the same thing with salary. It's cocaine. It's marijuana. It's fentanyl. Because the moment you think about, oh my God, how can I? If I leave now, how will the next rent be paid? If I leave now, how will we buy grocery? If I leave now, so what happens? You go back and snuff a little bit more. And before you know it, 20 years of your life have gone with nothing to show for it, because addiction never leads you north. Addiction always goes south, okay? Yes, Dylan talked about fear of unknown, and Rose says that in Nigeria is 30 days, and Emmanuel talks about the frustration of being disrespected by employers. That's correct. They disrespect you and treat you anyhow because they foot your bills. All right. So now, this is what no one probably has told you before. That's why I hold these coaching sessions. So some people sometimes, go to my YouTube section and then say that, oh, it's too long. It's not that it's too long, but these are things I encounter. And so I present it in a teaching format that can help you. So I deliberately emphasize certain things. So it's not that it's repetition, like some people accuse me. But then even if the video is a bit too slow or whatever for you, there are always chapters. You can always jump to chapters, and then you can always fast forward. I don't know how many of you know that you can fast forward YouTube videos. You can watch it at 1.5x speed, you can watch it at 2x speed, and all that, and it's fine. But we have to talk about these things because I meet millions of people between 35 and 65 who know nothing about investing, who have had all their career in 9 to 5 and then in salary, and they have no idea about investing. There are people who are 60 and they have no asset in their portfolio. The only thing that they can boast of is their pension, their mega pension. And of course, your pension squeezes your life because you can't spend beyond your pension. So even in your pension, you are not free because you can't eat what you want. You can't go travel to places you want to travel. The pension constricts you. So while you are active in the job, you're in slavery. And then after even your pension is slavery because the pension can't allow you leave your house, buy some particular kinds of cars if you want to take a vacation to Hawaii or to Singapore or to China or to whatever. You can't. That pension can't let you do that. And then the pension is still addictive because if anything happens to that pension and then they delay it for 4 days, then you go into withdrawal. So I'm setting the context for what we're discussing today. So the good news for you, and that's something that most people have not told you, is that you can invest your way out of this. Okay, so, and I want everybody to type that in the comment section. I can invest my way out of this. And the reason I say this is, like I said, it's a coaching session. We are trained to be able to make this thing stick in such a way that you don't forget it. That's why you watch some of my videos. For those of you who have watched some of my videos on YouTube, and then you never forget it. Then you hear certain things like Freedom Fund, you hear certain things like Sabbath Fund, and you don't ever forget it. It's deliberate. So when I say repeat something, do it, because I actually want it to stick. So this is not just like, this is not the kind of video you scroll, you just scroll fast. This, you really listen, absorb, so that you can practice. Yes, I can invest my way out of this. And then when you say it, mean it. And in fact, even where you are not just typing it, but I want you to say it after me. Placing your hand over your heart, say, I can invest my way out of this. Now, so all those things you listed, the frustrations, you don't have your time, the money is not enough, I can invest my way out of this. And I'm telling you because that's the path and that's the formula that I have followed myself. And I tell you that it is 300% possible to invest your way out of this. You can do it in the next 5 years. And I'll tell you how. So just hang on. All right, so you can invest your way out of this. And then we've talked about the pains, so all of that, you can invest our way out of it. Now, to set the stage for how you are going to do this, let me ask you, what is the difference between a well-dressed slave, that is the employee, the 9-to-5er, and a wealthy person? Type in the comment section, what's the difference between the employee, the 9-to-5er, who is facing all these frustrations that you've just talked about? What is the difference between you and then a very comfortable wealthy person? Let me describe this kind of person, because we met one. This couple were at the time that we met, were in their 40s, maybe late 40s. So I was vacationing with my family in New York, New Rochelle particularly. So we were using a Marriott facility, Residence Inn, in New Rochelle, in New York. And at that time, they were constructing a Trump Tower. So many of you who know the Residence, Marriott Residence, they have all these different types of hotel. So, but in the residence, you can cook, you can do all kinds of things, do your grocery, come in there and all that. So, and they were building a Trump Tower, very, very close to that place then. And then there was an amusement place that my children really loved very much. They called Funfosion. So I don't know how many of you listening are probably from New Rochelle or you've gone there. So that was the hotel that we were using. And so every morning we'll go for breakfast, because they provided breakfast and all that, which was really very, very generous, and breakfast with much more than you can eat, breakfast buffet. So while we were there, we were the only African family in that place, so the children were really young at the time. We noticed this man and his wife who came in there. In fact, some of you who have read my book, if you've read my book, Financial Freedom for Every Youth, I told that story in the first chapter. And so we got talking when we discovered they were also Africans, and then we got talking and all that. So we were like, okay, so when did you leave Nigeria? When did you leave Lagos to come here? They said, no, they were not coming from Lagos. They said they were coming, the more accurate countries will be in my book. So I don't remember, but it's captured in my book. So they were coming from Germany. And then before they went to Germany, they were in Dubai. And I think before Dubai, they were in Australia. And then from New York they were heading to the Caribbean. And so they had been traveling for a couple of months. Then I wondered, how did this man and his wife, who were still less than 50 years, or just say 50 maximum, how did they arrange their affairs such that at that time in their lives, they were able to travel around the world and have such time? I mean, these guys, they were just enjoying themselves, man and wife, traveling. They were so relaxed, so peaceful. So the point I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, is that it is possible, that people are already doing it. It is possible. And if ever it has been done before, then you can do it. So what is the difference between a well-dressed slave, an employee, and a wealthy person? So let me read what you have here. Okay, Corey says the employee has no control over his time, but the wealthy have. Very true. Okay, BOO Farm says the difference is freedom. Okay, very true. Tushia says, came in late. What did I miss today? Don't worry, Tushia. You can always go back and listen to it again. But we are talking about how to invest your way out of salary slavery. Yeah, that investment or investing is the antidote to salary slavery. Investing is the hope of the people who are trapped in the 9-to-5 slavery. It's a trap. It's a trap. And before you came, we also said that the salary is an addiction. This, in the US, I think you guys are paid every 2 weeks or something. In some other parts of the world, people are paid, monthly. I don't know about Europe. So those of you from Italy, Germany, how often are you paid in the month? Are you paid at the end of the month, or are you paid every 2 weeks like they do in the United States? Just put it in the comment section. So that's where we are. You haven't really missed much. Okay. So Siki says time freedom. Time freedom. Okay. So, and David Wilkes is asking, what type of investing are you in? So we are going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that in the process of time. Now, all you have answered is correct. But the major difference between that employee that you are and all these things that you've described and the wealthy person like the one I described that we met at New Rochelle is ownership. Type ownership. Everybody type ownership in the comment section. The difference is ownership. Ownership. And so listen up as I begin to give you the solutions and why ownership is very powerful. So wealth is not about working more. It's about owning more of what works for you. Do you want me to say it again? Because some of you just missed it. So wealth is not about working more, but owning more of what works for you. This is an aha. This should be an aha for somebody. Okay? Wealth is not about working more, but it's about owning more of what works for you. So a salary is a reward for solving someone else's problem. But an investment is a reward for solving your future problem. Is somebody getting this? That's the difference. And then which one is better? A salary is a reward that they give you for solving someone else's problem. Because many of you think that salary solves your problem. No. You solved whatever problem that your employer has. Whatever problem that the CEO or your manager or your supervisor has, you solved it. So they just rewarded you for solving their problem, but you weren't solving your own. Because if you just listen up a little bit and replay, if you replay and listen up to what you had said about your frustrations, your problem's still there. So they give you that reward, and then midway through the month, it's gone. Totally gone. So a salary is a reward. Just follow me. Some of you who are just coming in, I have explained, because sometimes I see a lot of complaints, that my videos are long and that I repeat myself. It's very deliberate. It's very deliberate. I repeat it so that it will stick. Because when you get it, it will now give you the insight and the motivation to take the action that will help you to get out of that situation. So a salary is a reward for solving someone else's problem. An investment is a reward for solving your future problem. So let me say something about ownership a little bit. And then, because ownership is at the core of my investment philosophy. So for those of you who are in the Financial Fitness Challenge, that is my mentorship group, I am going to teach you my investment philosophy. There are 7 pillars of my investment philosophy, and they are all very powerful. When you learn and when you develop your investment philosophy, you will never have the problem that most people have. They go around asking people, what should I invest in? It's a very common question. And then especially for beginner investors, they ask, what should I invest in? But you need to be able to answer that for yourself. And then you become a premium investor. So let me say something about ownership. One of my investment philosophies is to own everything I use. Because there are only 2 kinds of people in the world. You are either an owner or you are a renter. And then sad to say, 95 to 98% of humanity are renters. They never own anything. They don't own their houses, they rent. They don't own their financial destiny, they rent it from their employer. They rent everything. But you need to switch that mindset from a renter to an owner. That is foundational. So type it in the comment section, renter to owner. Now, how do I implement it as my investment philosophy? I use phone and I pay for data and airtime every month. So what did I decide to do? I decided to buy the telecommunications company. I decided to buy the telecommunications company. So in my stocks, in my portfolio, I have bought every company that I use their product. And do you know what happens? At the end of every financial year, these people pay me dividends. And the dividends are usually enough to cover everything I spent on data and on airtime. Do you see the difference? You are subscribing to data, you are buying data, you are buying airtime, but I am I'm also buying data, I'm buying airtime, but we are different. Because you're using your capital, which is what I call capital cannibalization. You're cannibalizing your capital. Your capital was not giving you to you cannibalize it and it disappears. But what I did in my own, I still buy, but because I'm an owner in the company, I invested in the shares of the company. I bought some significant number of the shares. They pay me dividends, and the dividends cover everything I've used to make my phone calls or to use mobile data in the year. Answer me in the comment section. Isn't that smart? And you remember I've told you that your savings rate, because some of you are very good savers, but your savings rate means nothing if your spending is not weaponized. So you see, you spend money and get nothing out of it. I weaponize my own spending. So when I spend, I get back. So I spend to get rich, and then you spend to get poor and to get liability. That's how ownership works. The same thing with the banks. I use the banks. So the banks I use, I bought them. And I'm still buying significant shares in the bank. Now, every time you complain about the banks, I don't join you to complain because I'm an owner. Oh, you're complaining, oh, GT Bank, oh, they take money from my account, there are all kinds of charges, they charge a lot, they charge for this, they charge for transfer, they charge for... I don't complain with you. Why? Because I'm an owner. So anytime they charge you, I make money. So why should I complain about how I make money? So the same thing, we spend money, both of us spend money. But see, the investor and somebody with the investment mindset weaponizes their spending. The investor, like me, will never spend on anything. Any capital expenditure, capex, okay? Because we also have our own individual capexes. It's not just companies that have capex. For instance, the phone I'm using to talk to you is iPhone 11. I think by now you guys already have iPhone 16 or something like that. But when I bought this iPhone 11, I did not buy it new. I bought it from someone when I was in the US, who bought it from Facebook Marketplace for only $400. And before I could do it, I had to, first of all, make sure that this phone will pay for itself, possibly within a month. So before I buy anything, I want to see the investor's mindset. I want to see how that money will come back. Because I don't like cannibalizing my capital. I don't like to spend money or something that will not return anything. So before I bought my MacBook, it was very expensive because I had a lot of things. It's got 1 terabyte of data because of the kind of work I do, 32 gig RAM. So I spent nearly $4,000 to buy that. But I comfortably bought it because I knew I was going to make that money. And in fact, I made the money in 1 month. So I bought the Mac, and I made the money back in a month. So the feeling is different. The freedom is different. You spend, you buy a very expensive phone, but you just buy it to, show your status and show off. You have iPhone 16. And you're buying iPhone 16, which in the Nigerian Naira, I don't know, you guys can tell me that if it's almost 2 million or 2 point something million. Good God. Do you know what 2 million would do for me if I put it in investment? You know what 2 million would do for me? And then you just use that to buy a phone, not because you're using it as a business tool that should be able to pay itself within a month. So anything that you've bought that has not paid for itself is speaking against your future. Sell it. Sell it. Sell it. Or find a way to make that thing return the money. I don't have a television. I don't have a television in my house because that's one gadget I do not know how in the world is going to return money. But it's actually going to take money from me. Because the time I spend watching football and watching Netflix and watching all those things, I can make a lot of money, doing that. Okay, so is that somebody getting value in this? Is it making sense? All right, so let me see what you have in there. Yeah, okay. Kelly, hi. Yeah, thanks for joining. Hello, Nick. All right. Okay, so I can see. Very smart. Very smart. Hello, Anne, my friend. So good to have you again, Anne. Okay, Kiki says yes. Tushia says yes. Makes sense. Okay, awesome. So it's the same thing in the United States. You buy grocery, you buy electronics, you pay rent. Look out for the companies that produce, whether it's in the United States or Italy or Germany, it's exactly the same principles. Everything you use in your home, buy into that company. Because if that company is not good enough to own, then I won't use their product. It's not good enough for me to use. So if you buy eggs every day, find the farm that produces the egg. Get equity. The rich look for equity. The poor people look for cash. Get equity. If they are listed publicly, get equity. So that you know that you are feeding, you've weaponized your spending. Each time you buy eggs, you are actually making yourself richer. Because at the end, they will pay you dividends in the farm. And sometimes if you actually own a lot of it, you find that the eggs are literally free. Because by the time they pay you the dividends, if you eat eggs, that you've done that. Same thing, if you eat some processed food, which I wouldn't advise, you know. But if you do, find the companies that make them and then buy the company. Buy the company so that every time you're spending, you're becoming wealthier. And every time other people buy the products of that company, you're also becoming wealthier. Okay? Makes sense. All right. So let me give you a picture. So some of you may have read, I'm forgetting the book, you know, when in 2003, I joined a network marketing organization called Quickstar. It was actually Amway, 2003 in New York at that time. What that multi-level marketing didn't pay me. I didn't earn money from it, but I stayed in it because of the education. It was amazing. It was amazing. And then I would actually encourage you, don't join a pyramid, but join some of these traditional, very old time multi-level marketing companies like Amway, not to make money, but to go through their educational system. In fact, at that time, Amway had a book a month program. Every month, they shipped us a book that everybody read. So it was from one of those books that I got what I'm sharing with you now. So imagine a man with a bucket, fetching water every day. So some of you who live in Germany or Italy or United States, you may not. But for people from the different parts of the world, you understand. You know, sometimes you have people in Kenya, in Zimbabwe, in Nigeria, in Ghana, who trek for as long as 5 kilometers to find water. So some of the things that people in the different parts of the world, you know, take for granted, others can't even see it. So you see, these people carry very heavy containers and go 2, 5, 10 kilometers to look for water and back. So picture that. So this man goes to fetch water every day carrying a bucket. Each trip is hard, as you might imagine. It's sweaty because the sun is up and all that. And it's also very tiring. So imagine that. Now that you've imagined that, that is your 9 to 5. That is exactly what 9 to 5 does. Now imagine another man. So this man spends 6 months laying a pipe from the stream or from the well. He just spends 6 months laying that pipe. There was no money at first, but then water flows through that pipe to his house while he sleeps. That is exactly what investing does. It takes effort upfront to invest, but it buys you peace, it buys you power, and it buys you the time that you just told me that you don't have. Isn't this a powerful metaphor? That's really what it is. So you're 9 to 5, every day you fetch on water, you know, laboring and things like that. But then in investing, you spend time and put it together, and there's suffering in both of them. It's just that one suffering continues, but the other suffering is upfront, but it buys you permanent peace. Okay, so with that, let me give you a very simple plan on how to invest your way out of salary slavery. Let me say upfront that it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. It's never easy coming out of addiction. There are going to be fears. There's going to be uncertainties, but it's very rewarding. It's very, very rewarding. And many times why we stay stuck financially, it's not really because the tactics or the things that we can do to make money are not there, but it's because of fear. All right, so knowing how to use, how to deal with our fear. So step number 1, start with what you earn not what you hope to earn. Start with what you earn. My mentor once told me, do what you can with what you have where you are. The mystery of investment is not size, it's not the amount of money. The mystery of investment is consistency. You can write that down. The mystery of investment is not the amount of money, but it is the consistency. A large amount of money in the millions invested sporadically versus a small amount of money, just like tiny drops from the tap. Our tap once had a problem. Tiny drops. So it would lock, but it wouldn't totally lock. So there would be tiny drops of water coming. So one day I put a bowl, a large bowl under it. And by the time we woke up, the bowl was full and overflowing. But if you saw just how those tiny drops were coming, you will never imagine that it will fill a cup. That's exactly the mystery of investment. So if you give me two options, just those tiny drops every day, versus millions that come, we don't know when it's going to come, it just comes once and all that, you will be amazed what investment can do. So start with what you earn, not what you hope to earn. So the size of your salary is not the problem. We think it is. But I've told you consistently that the size is not the problem. Because the people who earn fat salary are more prone to poverty than those who don't. I see it every day. That's why all the time I worked in Shell, I couldn't buy my own house because I didn't see me living where normal people live. I was a big boy, so if I must buy a house, it's got to be in Lekki, it's got to be in VGC, it's got to be in Ikoyi in those days. And then I never got that bulk money. Meanwhile, the people who were wiser than myself found land in the outskirts where nobody was living at the time, where people didn't care about. But today, those places are very, very expensive and they have these beautiful estates springing there. So people who earn fast salary are more prone to poverty than those who don't. And when they fall, it's usually serious. If you've seen a man who was a big man somewhere in some organization, then he loses his job or something happens and he runs into a financial crisis, it's usually very messy. You see, because they are not used to living at our normal level. And then many people can't cope. From there, they have health issues and all that. So the size of your salary is not the problem. It is the absence of a wealth building system. Everybody says system, type system. System is key. Many of us in our 40s, in our 50s, don't even have a system. And then in the Financial Fitness Challenge this coming Sunday, we are going to be focusing on creating systems. And I'm going to be introducing very simple systems to automate how you make money, how you manage it, and how you multiply it. And by the way, let me take a pause. If you are listening and you haven't subscribed to this channel, I think by now you have very good reason to. We do this every evening, same time, Monday to Friday. And it's a coaching session. You know, it's not, we don't talk big things. We just talk practical things, like the things you've been hearing. So take a moment and hit that subscribe button. Do it right now. I don't think it hurts. And it also helps the algorithm to show this to people who need it. And then hit the love button, subscribe. And when you do subscribe, please hit the notification bell so that every time that I go live, you will receive immediate notification. All right, there's a question there. I'm into real estate. Right now, we have lands, houses, and shops at good locations. Okay, very good, very good. Okay, so we'll talk about that. All right, So it's the absence of a wealth building system that is the problem. If you put that your little salary through a system, you don't cannibalize it, because salary is still a gift. Salary is still something to be grateful for, no matter how big or small it is. So my mentor told me 2001-ish, 2002-ish, way back then. I went to him, very successful man, billionaire, very, very successful guy, net worth of hundreds of millions of dollars. And I said, look, show me the secret. What do I do? And ladies and gentlemen, I was expecting this man to just give me some earth-shattering secret. I was expecting him to tell me, because, from his background, I was expecting him to tell me, okay, you know what? Take money, put it in this kind of secret asset or secret something. I was expecting some secret. And it was a meeting that I was anticipating, the appointment that he gave me. When I sat with this man, you guess what he told me? He said, oh boy, save 10% of your salary. I said, this is what a billionaire is telling me. I'm like, is this what I came here to hear? He said, save 10% of your salary and invest it every time. Invest it every month and continue to build it. Two things he told me. And then he suggested a fund at the time. And that fund has done so well. The fund is still on today. And he said also, he now asked me, do you live in your own house? I said, no, we're renting. He said, even if you buy a little corner piece, a little plot of land, half, living in your own house is much better than living in a rented house that's a rented palace where kings, a king can live or something like that. It doesn't get any simpler. When I finish, I'm just like, is that all? And over the years, I've proven the man right. So you need to create that 10% freedom fund, no matter how small your salary is. By the time you do it once, and do it twice, and do it 3 times, it becomes very, very easy, okay? So that is not emergency money. Your freedom fund is not emergency money. It's not the one that, okay, oh, someone is sick or something, and you just draw it. No, that's not what it is. So you have to be disciplined about your freedom fund. It is what gives you the escape velocity, all right? The escape velocity money. Okay, so invest it monthly like you're building a bridge out of your current life, because that is what it is. It is that freedom fund that's going to build a bridge that you're going to walk out of your current life, of this 9 to 4, the life you were describing to me that is very, very frustrating. It is the freedom fund that will build the bridge to walk out of it. Because right now you can't walk out of it easily because there is no bridge. Step number 2, pick an investment vehicle. Start with one. Later, you can actually add more investment vehicles and assets, but just start with one. And then, so when you start with one, it could be the stock market, it could be digital assets, it could be real estate, it could be exchange traded funds, ETFs, whatever it is, start with one. Now, when you pick a vehicle, the most important thing is to devote your time learning about that vehicle. If you pick the stock market, please devote time learning how the stock market works. Because the money is in your mind, not in the market. That is why 2 people invest in the stock market, and one person is like, this is the best thing that has ever happened to me. Like, the stock market is the best thing that has ever happened to me, quietly. But another person tells a different story. Oh, I put my money in that and that, and then the money went. Why did your money go? Why did it disappear? And then both of us might invest in one stock. So I might invest, like I invested a little bit on NVIDIA before China brought DeepSeek and some other AI that literally, crushed NVIDIA at the time. So you probably went and sold your own. We invested in the same NVIDIA. Then there was a little tremor in the market. You rushed and sold yours, and I didn't sell mine. And then weeks later, the thing has rebounded and recovered. So why? Because if you don't know about something and you invest in it, the likelihood of your losing that money is almost 100%. So whatever vehicle you choose, ETF, money market funds, whatever it is, the stock market, stay with it, read a lot about it. This year, I wanted to revisit Forex trading. Because I did Forex trading in 2007, 2008, and I abandoned it because I saw that the thing requires a lot of focus, requires a lot of learning time. It wasn't something that I was going to be able to combine with other things at the time. It was intense. For you to succeed in Forex, you've got to give it time. You literally won't sleep. So I had to now research for the best books on the subject this year, and they're always with me. Okay, so I got these ones, from the US on that subject. So what I do, before I can do Forex again, I digest this. And as I have an account, a Forex account, as I'm reading here, I'm practicing. So I want to emphasize that the critical thing is not putting money in the stock market or putting money in real estate. The critical thing is learning, educating your mind about that particular investment vehicle before you invest. Otherwise, you're going to lose your money. Okay? So, because money that doesn't grow dies. But money that multiplies sets you free. So you've got to choose an investment vehicle to multiply your money. Step number 3 and final step, automate it. Automate it. You cannot trust your feelings. You cannot trust that you always wake up and then invest or save. You might wake up one day and you just feel like, blowing up the entire savings or something and not investing it. So, but if you actually automate it and then take yourself away from the process and then just let the thing do its stuff. And there are many ways you can automate these things. So many bank apps allow you to do automatic transfer. Like you give a standing order, once salary comes in, 10% should be taken straight into the investment account. All right, so and many banks have investment, like some banks in the US who also have facilities, or they have partnership with investment funds. You transfer the money directly, to the fund. My own philosophy is, once the money comes in, I don't let it think, I don't let it talk. It goes immediately to where it's supposed to go, to the investment. Because the moment you leave money to think, and you leave it to overthink, and then you leave it to start talking to you, it defaults to spending that money on pleasure. So at the end of it, you end up having pleasure in the moment, but then your future is filled with poverty. Okay? So please automate it. Let time do the heavy lifting for you. So every month, your job is simple. Add to the Freedom Fund. Let it breathe. Let it grow. Let it build. Let compounding do its magic. Okay? Water it, protect it, nurture it. Okay? So you don't get rich by reacting. You get rich by repeating. So the poor react, but the rich people repeat. The poor repeats tasks, but the rich people repeat systems. And so it's really important, create a system, no matter how small, how whatever, just let the force of habit, take it forward for you. Okay? So, having said that, I'm aware, that the bills are real. While we are talking about this, the bills are there. The school fees are, to be paid, the house rent, the grocery. So it's really real. But the truth is, I also know that while the bills are real and always urgent, I also know that if you don't buy assets, you are going to rent your life forever. You're going to have to trade your time for money forever. You're going to have to trade your effort, your skills, your learning forever. That's really what it is. Which one will you choose? So it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. But the moment your mind shifts and then you implement what I have taught you today, the moment that your mind shifts, it becomes easy. If you ask anyone who has built wealth, they did not build wealth by just earning more. They built wealth by investing early and investing often, okay? So every month you have two options. You either spend your money and stay in struggle, or you invest your money and buy your freedom. So I would like you to say, I'm done being a salary slave. I will build wealth and investment at a time. There are two ways you can do this. The first is actually you do it yourself, okay? DIY, and which is fine because a lot of people actually work better doing these kind of things themselves. There are other people like me who decide, okay, I'm going to pay a coach to coach me through this, to help me to implement. And that's what I do. I'm hardly without a coach. There's a gentleman, he's based in the United States in Atlanta, that I'm paying $95 every month right now to teach me a few things. And I'm seeing results. So I run a mentorship class. It happens every month. But the good thing is that we have started, once you join once, you are going to continue to be there. So other cohorts will join. And then we continue to enrich the community. So right now, we are enrolling for the financial fitness program. We're already deep into it. And some of you listening here are there. And it's such a loving and diverse and very, very supportive group. There are about 98 people there right now, drawn from everywhere in the world, people living in the UK. We have people in the US, we have people from UAE, quite a number of people in this cohort, from UAE, from Dubai, and we have people who work in all kinds of sectors. Somebody works for Apple. We have people in the military, somebody who works for the US Navy. We have someone who's been the Deputy Inspector General of Police. So it's not a small group. These are people who are serious and whom I'm working with, to help them with their finances. And then you can be one of them. It's extremely simple and extremely cheap. It's money that it's not, you can't pay for what I'm giving you with $105, which is what it is. You can't pay. Even what I've shared with you tonight, be honest, is it not worth more than $105? And that's what it is, just peanuts to be part of that group. And then when you come, you're going to remain in that group forever. So it's here that I share stock recommendations. It's there that I share strategies. It's there that after sessions like this, I give them worksheets that guide them to implement it, because it's not just about hearing these things. You still need to you're still asking yourself, okay, how and where do I begin? How do I begin? Where do I start? That's what the coaching is about. Okay, so if you would like to be part of it, and you live in Nigeria, it is 125,000 Nigerian naira only, okay, or 125 US dollars if you're paying in dollars. But right now, there is an early bird still running, and so you're not going to pay 125,000. You're paying only 105. That's 20,000 off. And then for dollars, you're not paying 125. You're paying only 105. If you want to be part of this group, because it's already hot, and the guys inside, they are just, it's amazing the way people are willing. We had a meeting, a Zoom session, pre-meeting session yesterday. And I'm so amazed, at how people are ready to help help each other, to grow. Because it gets to a certain level, you can't create wealth alone. You've got to be in a community of supportive people who can do that. So if you want to join, you can join like the next 5 minutes. The process is very simple. Type send me payment details, okay? Send me payment details. Send it to this WhatsApp number. So take the WhatsApp number down. Just say send me payment details and send it to this WhatsApp number. +234 8088 000 111. Very simple. And somebody please can type it in the comment section so other people can pick it. +234 8088 000 111. Just send it. Don't call it. It only receives WhatsApp. Don't call it. Just send me payment details. You're going to get the payment details and follow the instructions. Once you do that, you will join the class like in the next couple of minutes. And then when you join, there are resources already waiting there for you, step by step, what you do to catch up. Because on the 28th to 30th, we're going to have live Zoom sessions to handle everything money. And this group is so helpful. For instance, that we have a member of the group who earns money, thousands of dollars every month from YouTube. And then other people in the group, in the Financial Fitness Challenge group says, oh, we also want to be able to do this. And then everybody, so we are going to do things like that, How do you earn money from YouTube? Even if you don't want to show your face. So there are faceless YouTube video channels that are earning thousands of dollars a month. You should be earning money on YouTube, not just watching YouTube. In the spirit of what I was talking about, you be an owner. You should be earning money on YouTube. I am. Okay? So send it right now to +234 8088 000 111, and then you're going to receive the details immediately and then join. All right? So if there is no, Toby, don't send it here. Send it to that number that I just mentioned. Don't send it to the comment section. We won't see it, but send it to the WhatsApp number, and then you'll get it. Okay. I think that we are in a good place to say goodbye today. I will take a look at some of the questions that you have in the comment section, and then we can carry it into tomorrow. Amara says, I'm from Liberia. How I wish I knew this early. It's not late, don't worry. You can always go back for the replays, and then subscribe to the channel, and you have so many videos like this that can actually help you take control of your finances, and also to take control of your purpose for your life. All right, so thank you all very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's always my pleasure doing this every evening. And so whatever happens, keep showing up, because you just never know what's coming your way next. And I'll see you at exactly the same time tomorrow evening.